What's up, y'all? This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, and I am here today with the fantastic music of Kevin MacLeod. But I'm here today with my co-host,
Carl Viking.
Hey, man.
How you doing, YouTube?
Oh, man. Yeah, the YouTube thing is doing it, and I forgot to set my phone on silent. I love it when I do that.
It's golden, you know.
What, silence?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, welcome you guys to Fluff Talk and letting you know we're still in the middle of the California wildfires. Ain't that fun?
It's super fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I was at work and I just walked up and the server asked me if I needed anything and I was like, "No, man, I'm just here to enjoy the air conditioning." He sort of chuckled. I was like, "I'm not kidding. If I sweat anymore, you're about to see my chest hair through this chef coat."
Yeah, you know what? I was actually like, when I picked you up today, or when I went out and met you before bringing you over here to the Wizard's Tower, I actually was thinking maybe I should keep him in the chef's coat, and then I realized that it is hot enough in here to make babies.
Also, it has
Really,
it has identifying marks on it that I'd rather not advertise.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So eventually, I'm going to get you a chef's coat. Maybe after I put the air conditioner in here.
Well, there's that fella from Ren Fair who I keep chatting with every couple of years. He's offered to make me a Belgian military-styled chef jacket out of all black leather, which I'm willing to wear precisely once, you know, and then I'll subsequently die a heat stroke.
Black leather chef.
Oh, baller AF, but you will die. It might be worth it for something that cool, but I'm not sure yet.
I'm not gonna lie. It would only be that baller if you were actually in Norway. You know, the place where they make white people besides Texas.
No. It would be survivable if you were in Norway. It would be cool no matter where, except for inside the coat.
That's fair. That's fair. So, what I'm doing right now, ladies, gentlemen, and germs, is I am actually pulling up you guys. I'm pulling up you guys because, well, how can I put this? You guys are the reasons that I do this. You guys are the reasons that I'm here. And, yeah, there we go. Look at, oh, wait, no, wrong one. Wrong one. I'm just trying to make sure that we are live and transmitting, and it looks like we are. But I'm going to the thing. It's been a couple of days, and I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I have been sick. I have been sick.
Must be something going around then.
Yeah, there really is.
I've been I've been violently ill since Tuesday.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was throwing out some catered lunch boxes. There were some that were disposable and some that were nice Tupperware, the kind that you want to save and reuse. And the monsters that ate out of it didn't throw away all the food before closing them, and they'd been sitting out in the sun. I got one whiff, and I swear to you, I have not been able to keep down food since Tuesday.
Oh my God. Yeah, you know, honestly, that's the one thing that I never actually keep in mind about your vocation. Like, I know that chefs shouldn't get sick, all right?
Shouldn't.
They shouldn't get sick. But I keep forgetting exactly how many germs you guys tend to be exposed to on a daily basis.
You know, we have to be super clean about it, and you know, sometimes it's just unavoidable. Food goes bad, ultimately, and sometimes it goes from bad to straight up evil. You know, there's no escaping it, and it's unfortunate. But I think at some point in everyone's 20s and 30s, you have that tipping point where you lose whatever semblance of a cast iron stomach you had.
Oh no, yeah.
Everyone hits that point, and I think I hit mine this week. Just that one whiff of bad took it all out of me, and I'm just like, I am like the rest of you mortals now.
Yeah, oh man, like I said, I couldn't do it. I make it very clear. I can throw down in the kitchen. I'm just letting you know that. I know everybody thinks it, but people have told me I can throw down in the kitchen. But I'm a cook. He's a chef.
Yo.
Cook, spent my life in the kitchen. Chef, spent his life in the kitchen, then went to school.
You know, actually, fun science fact, I did not spend my life in a kitchen. Before I went to cooking school, I promise you, I knew how to make omelets, pot roast, and pancakes, but only if I had the bucks. I learned everything at cooking school.
All right. right, that's
It was I did it completely on a lark. One day, my best friend called me up and was like, "Hey, man, I was thinking about going to cooking school." I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun." I had just gotten out of a job that I kind of liked and was kind of pining for. I was like, "No, that sounds fun. Let's do that. Let's give that a shot." And so, fast forward 14 years later.
okay.
Yeah,
14 years.
14 years.
I remember when you first went into culinary school.
Yeah, when we reunited at that LARP.
Yeah.
Actually,
After-
I had been going to school just for a few months at that point.
Yeah. So, but with that, I'm gonna say thank you for showing up. Though you have to crawl through the ick to get here.
It's just walking through soup, you know. It's not too dissimilar from what I do for a living. It's just all around me, and I can't put it away, and I can't get away from it, and it's a nightmare without ending.
Okay. Well, thank you for showing up.
You are most welcome.
And I want to thank a certain number of other people for showing up today. I talk about our friends, our family, the people that I am so not used to showing up on a regular basis, but they're becoming more and more cool. I'm talking about the chat. Hey, looks like we got a new guy in there, the Frisco Flame, talking about booty, 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 booty dance, booty dance, booty dance, booty dance.
I know me.
So yeah, and it's actually funny because when I put all this stuff together, right? I put together the format that I wanted to talk about. I had stuff split into sections, you know.
Yep.
But the number one thing about broadcasting is it's like a military exercise, okay? And I didn't realize that my military exercise of coming up with a format for a show would not survive a Viking raid.
Well. Yeah, I mean.
No, I get you. So we're going to do a little something different today. Today, instead of spending our normal half hour that we do on all the other shows talking about how we are, what we're like, what our week was,
TLDR from my end. Terrible, y'all. Terrible.
Yeah. So to just
although you know we can talk about let's dip into game related things from the week. That's relevant for sure.
Well, yeah. As I was about to tell them, instead of just talking randomly about that stuff, what I am going to say is we are going to talk a little bit about what prepping for this show is like. Because here's the gig. The Viking and I, we play a lot of games in theory, and we research a lot more.
Plays an interesting word. I don't play any games, actually. Well, sorry, that is incorrect. Technically, I play War Machine, although I think it is mostly an effort in displaying my painted miniatures on a table and then lovingly packing them up and going home.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
I don't play games, I run them.
Yes. Okay, so you run games, which takes a lot of research.
Yes.
I run and play and research a lot of games for for this company. But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know that whole, well, you know, you and I are kind of like polar opposites on this show. Have been for a long time. If you guys want to check that out, you should totally go to www.backinthedeck.com and listen to our earlier episodes of Fluff Talk from, 5 years ago now.
Has it been that long?
It has been that long.
Oh my hollyhock god?
Huh?
Oh my hollyhock god?
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. The only hollyhock I want to talk about is the one from BoJack Horseman. You know, but we'll deal with that later. But what I will say is that I always try and say something nice about a game. I try and, like, you know, the amount of stuff that goes into building a game and making a game and writing it down.
Mm-hmm.
I respect the amount of work that goes into it. Yeah?
Go ahead. I'm waiting for it. Say it.
That being said, that ain't always easy.
Oh, really snap. Easy. Yeah, you know, I actually do have something nice to say about today's subject. It might blow your mind to hear it later, but I do have a nice thing to say. Oh, we'll
get to that when it comes.
That being said,
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I do have many more unpleasant things to say about it. But
I bet.
Yeah.
I seriously bet.
So how was your week?
Oh, well, my week?
Yes.
Oh, my week has been rough because I too came down with a little bit of under the weather stuff.
Little toothache action, huh?
Oh my God, yeah.
Not just by this pain in his mouth. And actually, it's funny. I just started listening to.
Oh wait, hang on a minute. It looks like. Damn it.
Huh?
Things disconnected again. Hang on. Yeah, it's been a little weird. Okay, we're back. We're back, or at least we should be back.
Anyway, tell us if we're not. So I
yeah. So what you were saying?
So
like
I stumbled
when toothache for
yeah. So I stumbled onto the Glass Cannon network of podcasts.
Okay.
And they're Pathfinder oriented, so I'm for the most part all about it. Specifically because I've been diving into this Pathfinder playtest thing.
Right.
They had this cool thing where they got together with Jason Bullman, who's the designer of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and Eric Mona, who's the chief creative officer of Paizo, and they ran through like the first adventure that Paizo ever published for the original Pathfinder, like 14 years ago now.
All right.
And so Jason Bullman was converting it on the fly. Ooh. And they had the Glass Cannon podcast people, and one of the guys, he's playing a paladin, and he actually decided that he was basically a scoundrel until he tried to pickpocket the wrong priestess, and then he basically had a vision from the goddess Iomade, and literally his actions are guided by toothaches.
Okay.
So he's just this scoundrel of a paladin in a perpetually bad mood that every time he's like, okay, we tried our best, let's get the hell out. Oh, okay, I guess we'll go further into the dungeon.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Man. Like yesterday, I was down. I had to cancel Table Talk, which I was fortunate because the toothache hit me at 4:30 a.m. So I was up for about an hour and a half going and various other cow noises, and then I took a look at the clock and I'm like, you know what, I had better send the Bart in the deck a text. He should be getting up about now, because he's got like over an hour drive to get here,
right?
And he gets here by around 11. So he leaves the house around 9:30, 10 o'clock, which means he's up at about 6:37 to do the husband and father thing and get the house together before doing that drive.
Right.
So I'm like, now would be the time to tell him that he can sleep in, or he's got the rest of the day, because
for sure,
yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, so
so that's a rough start to a week. It's a rough start to a week.
That was the middle, yo.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
Mine's this inability to process food has been rough. And then I went to my weekly board game night.
Okay.
And played a very interesting. Anyone who follows me on Instagram would know that I played a rather interesting game called Bloodborne.
Oh.
It is a card game that probably I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so bad. It's like a okay, so it's supposed to be a cooperative game. You are hunters hunting monsters for their blood and trophies.
Right.
And so you go through a dungeon, which is a deck of 10 random enemy cards and mini boss cards, and you have to kill them and survive.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, so you pick what you're going to do. The monster attacks first and deals damage, and then you deal your damage.
Okay.
So the problem is, it's also got a PvP mechanic because it's not a shared victory. Only one person wins this fucking game. It's unbelievable. Like, so there is, and these things are hard. They're not walks in the park. There's some that like, oh, damage from this monster can't be prevented, which is a problem since it deals its damage first. So if you die, you're just dead. Dying doesn't necessarily kill you, but oh my goodness. So there's this screw your neighbor mechanic over where really you need to, so it's a game that purports to be about hunting monsters in post-apocalyptic Victorian England. But no, this is a game about kill stealing and ninja looting at its core. Because there can be only one winner. So you need to...
I'm not seeing much bad about the kill ninja stealing at its core.
Well, for a cooperative game...
Oh, never mind.
It's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
No, if the game was outside basically screw over your fellow hunters and be the bestest, sure. But this is like we can't past the game unless we beat these baddies. Yeah, and then on top of that, it's just hard. Because you pick a main boss, a final boss, that has a power that plays over the entire rest of the game. And some of them are like, okay, all baddies start with like 2 extra health. Whatever. But some of them are like, yeah, if you die twice, you're just removed from the game. You don't get to play anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
that's the one, and we actually didn't know that you're supposed to, when we played, we didn't know you were supposed to have the boss villain revealed, and its power affects the entire game. Because otherwise, it would have been a TPK, a total wipe. And that is literally the only way to lose the game.
Dude.
It was, oh my god. And in the middle of just like a really unpleasant week, this was like not the game I needed.
Yeah, we got Nomi in the chat saying, be co-op or not both.
Yeah, what we needed was Red Dragon in, and what we got was fucking Bloodborne.
Munchkin.
Yeah, we got Munchkin, the Edgelord edition.
Oh my god, I love that phrase. Edgelord.
I'm very fond of a bunch of Swedish edgelords. That's my new favorite default moniker for really a lot of things.
Okay, well, that's fair. That's totally fair. It's funny. So today's game, I'm not pulling up a picture just yet. Okay, but
Gotta wait for it.
this
Just savor
game-
it.
Yeah, this game actually, I was really interested in the concept of this game, and I've presented a game like it to you once before. And I think your reply was, it was, so what game are we covering on the next show? And I'm like, oh, I was thinking about, or I texted you. That's what it was. I texted you, and it was, what game do you want to cover? Or I was thinking about covering a game, and I think your reply was, as long as it's not that abomination that you sent me last week. And that game was godlike. You know, I remember that one because you know, genre is a thing.
Genre is totally a thing.
Yeah.
And there are some gamers that pretty much only play a certain genre, and there are some gamers that only thrive in a certain genre.
It's true.
Like
It's very true.
there are some players that just will never leave their Tolkien-esque fantasy. And you know what? That's fine, because if that's where you thrive, fucking rock on. Rock on, you fur-footed motherfuckers. You know, I'm all about it. You know, because those people, you know, some people can find themselves utterly lost when dropped into a cyberpunk game.
True.
You know, and modern's always a tough sell for me.
I've noticed.
And it's like you need to have a huge draw, because it eliminates 1 or 2 degrees of escapism for me, which is a big percentage of why I play these games. So like, I don't like, if we're doing modern stuff, I don't want to do any mundane shit. I want to be I want to be.
Yeah, I was elaborate on that. 'Cause
Okay, so what I don't want to do is be a doctor working for the CDC investigating diseases. Like, that's like, I don't want a mundane. Okay, so like, World of Darkness is about the only touchstone I can land on in terms of modern settings.
Okay.
A Call of Cthulhu, although I have run Call of Cthulhu, I have never been privileged to play Call of Cthulhu. I have only ever run it. So I can get on board with COC and Mage, because they have such fantastical premises, you know, and it's like you have this access to these powers that make you so exceptional, and the world is really fleshed out, especially in Mage, where I played a lot of Mage actually post high school. And Werewolf as well. Not so much Vampire. I played a little bit of Vampire, but they have a lot of
I'm gonna
fluff.
stop you right there.
What?
You didn't play a little bit of Vampire. You played a whole lot of poker. Is what you did.
Well, okay, that was the LARP. What I'm talking about is when I was actually playing tabletop White Wolf, which I did for quite a long time after high school.
I'm just screwing with you.
Yeah, we did play a lot of poker though, but there's an enormous wealth of fluff to draw on. It's a very well fleshed out world, whereas Call of Cthulhu is kind of a harder sell, because you have the works. I think in one of our previous games we were talking about sort of that Call of Cthulhu, the Cthulhu mythos is basically sort of like the earliest version of fan fiction.
Okay. Yeah.
One guy writes a thing, and everyone's like, okay, I want to write shit that's a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's very true.
so you have that body of work to draw on, but not really a lot else, and certainly not anything created with the mindset of accommodating people who might want to survive. Which is fine. I'm fine with watching people go out in a blaze of glory.
I went off on that on Buster Recap when the henchman was here. Call of Cthulhu is not about how you go out. You know, there are modules that say, all right, so for the players from the last campaign, this is where you start. So it's not made to kill the characters.
Well, okay.
It is made to kill murder hobos. And a lot of people who cut their teeth in D&D and games like that, but it's just a different kind of role-playing game.
You know, intent does not equal implementation. And while I'm sure that they thought it was a swell idea that some people would survive, again, you unleash a horde of murder hobos onto any fictional work, and they're going to ruin it for everyone else. They absolutely are. So, like, yes, I'm sure that there's some Call of Cthulhu games that have survived and maybe have some grit or some pulp to it, or even some grimdark. But I think pretty much it's a bunch of idiots bungling around in the dark, trying to describe the shape of something they can't even see, and then someone turns on the light and it eats them.
You know, I'm hoping against hope Seth Sarkowski does a rebuttal video to that section. Seriously, because you know how I'm a big fan of the Cthulhu mythos.
For sure.
Yeah, I know Lovecraft was racist. God, do I know. Freaking Dorothy Parker talked about how racist he was, but that doesn't mean I dislike his work. But yeah, when it comes to that, it's having played as many games of COC as I have, it's just hard to change the mindset from I'm gonna be a hero to the hell's going on. You know, I'm good, or nope. You know, and but that's a different thing. But I wanted to bring up genre, not to go on a tirade about Call of Cthulhu, although we could. You know, I mean, ultimately, the thing about, again, that's why Call of Cthulhu is even sort of a hard sell with me, because you're not playing a particularly fantastical character. The more fantastical you are, the more likely you are to die, frankly. True.
You have to be the black guy in every horror film, but in Call of Cthulhu, that guy lives. Because he's the first motherfucker that's like, no, goodbye. I have shit to do. I have bills to pay. I have kids to raise. I have a sandwich to go fix. Y'all can wander around in this gymnasium fighting cultists all you want.
There is a certain appeal to that for me for some reason, but one of the genres that I like playing with, okay, one of the genres that I really like stories about. Again, you've known me for almost 25 years now, and you know how when it comes to the stuff that I like doing, I'm like, go big or go home.
Right.
You know, go all the way big. So when I'm playing Wizards, I'm not concerned about Professor Snape's potion classes. I'm thinking more like, all right, I'm going to call down the Endless from Neil Gaiman, and we are going to play checkers for the fate of a universe I've never even seen before.
Sure.
Like I said, go big, go home. Not power gaming, but power storytelling. That's
right.
where I'm at.
Okay.
But that's difficult. That's really difficult.
Really hard.
It's hard to write games about apotheosis. It's hard to write stories about anything involving the word God, big G or little g. It is.
It's incredibly difficult, and part of the problem is that you know it. I think I told you the other day. Any work of fiction is perfect on paper. It's only when you involve other people that it goes down the toilet. And whether that be a reader or a player or someone that just wants to know, just wants to ask questions or peer behind the curtain, it's like it's Schrodinger's fiction. The second it's observed by another person, it becomes a monumental pile of crap.
Fair. That's very
If
fair.
it exists in a vacuum, it is perfect, it is pristine, it is untouchable. And then players.
Yeah. Now, as you know, on the Twitch channel, I'm running an Anomaly game.
Yes.
And
very similar
Oh yeah.
to today's subject.
Well,
Very
yeah.
similar.
That's why I bring it up, because the problem that I tend to have with running games that involve apotheosis
Mm-hmm.
is that I don't know how it is other countries, okay? But most Americans have the very hard Judeo-Christian background.
For sure.
And the Judeo-Christian background being so monotheistic,
Mm-hmm.
they hear the word God or godlike, and the first thing in their head is, so I can do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thor is a god, therefore Thor can do anything. It's like, no, Thor can do a lot with lightning.
Thor has, or what we in good old second ed D&D would call portfolio.
Yes.
Thor has
That's
a
a good
portfolio. It is thunder, it is storms, it is lightning, it is war.
Right.
And it is not other things than that,
Yeah.
most importantly.
Yeah, outside of that portfolio, you might get the ability to drive a car,
Yeah.
the ability to ride a horse.
The ability to look dashing riding anything, even a cart pulled by goats.
Right, and I think one of the only writers to really show that, at least in popular fiction, is Jack Kirby when he was writing The New Gods. You know,
Popular fiction, well, in comic books,
Yeah.
I think so. In fiction, you know, Neil Gaiman and
Mike Carey?
Pratchett. Pratchett
You
did
know,
a good job.
I'll give you Pratchett. I think Gaiman still has a long way to go with it.
But I mean, he touched on the shape of it.
Yes.
On the at the very least, in the shape of limitations. At the very least, the concept of portfolio.
Yeah, he really did. The Endless, he did really good with that. Mike Carey, when he wrote Lucifer, you know, making one of the girls the goddess of hedgehogs, and though it never showed us what the goddess of hedgehogs do or does, we know that hedgehogs get into a lot of trouble. So when it comes down to doing these games with angels and godlings and demigods, as soon as that G word is set out, people already have this idea of, I can do anything!
They immediately capitalize it and then go on a power trip.
Exactly. So they're like, kids, run to the freeway, grab your friends, put them on your shoulders, and I guarantee you will become a robot. And sure enough, you know, when the game or the fiction that's being ingested, as it were, shows that, no, you got a job, and you exist on this side of the job. And that's one of the reasons that I like running a nominee, is because it gives my players a chance to be completely alien, completely specialized, and they get the chance to have childlike wonder and godlike ability at the same time. But, you know, it's only if they open their minds to, holy crap, I'm super hyper specialized, aren't I?
Yeah. What I always enjoyed about Nominee was really the concept of conditional godhood. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really important concept, and a lot of games can do very well in addressing it, and a lot of games can do not well in addressing it.
That's true. And no, Mr. Hurst, the goddess of hedgehog, did not create chaos gems. But she did assist Dr. Robotnik. That's what I got to say on that. But I actually wanted to talk to you about something, because as much as I hate going into crunch on this show, I've just surrendered to the fact that you're here, so we're going to talk about it a little.
Okay, that's fair.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
When I read this book,
Uh-huh.
the first thing that hit my head was, oh my God, I should have published some of my writing when I was in the 9th grade. And the second thing that hit my head was, interesting. This seems more like an improv exercise that I would pay $35 a class for, in the sense of a diceless game system. Did you get the nosebleed that I thought you were gonna?
Well, my head didn't violently rocket off my body, if that's what you mean. So
Yeah, kind of.
So we're talking
in the same way that gluten does to penises.
Yeah. So we're talking, of course, about Nobilis, which was published in 1999. And First edition was published in 1999. It was published again in 2002, and then again in 2012. The one we were looking through, I believe, is the coffee table version. I believe that's the 2002 one.
Yeah, second edition.
And my understanding is it is the best written of the three of them.
Oh
my
God!
is saying telling. Telling's a very good word. Typically, I give you the words, but I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna use it, and I'm gonna give you a quarter. Telling is a really good word to describe what we're talking about. So, Nobilis is a diceless game. Nobilis is also almost a ruleless game. There are rules.
Oh yeah.
You have like, you've got like stats, like 4 of them, and you use them to basically succeed at stuff. But here's the thing. Since you're a god, and in this one they kind of mean, I mean, there's a classification of gods, which we'll get into in a second. You just sort of, it is assumed, and they mention this many times, so it's very clear, it's unambiguous, you are assumed to succeed at most things.
Yeah.
This is one of the...
It's kind of like the creator of all things is capital G, capital O, capital D. And then the gods that we know are capital G, lowercase ODS. And then you in this game are all lowercase.
G-O-D.
But then there are those humans.
Yes. There's, oh my god. Okay. So where do we even start here? Because so this is Fluff Talk, right? In Fluff Talk, we talk about the fluff of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll start?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like today. Pretty much.
All right, so it doesn't exactly have a setting in time.
No.
Or space.
And, well, okay, it does technically have a setting in space. You are on one of the many, many infinite branches of Yggdrasil, which is everything.
Problematic.
Also problematic. So here's something I found really curious about Nobilis, is that you don't get a lot of talk about... There's no timeline, there's no real world that makes it unique. It's basically like, there's like our world, and then there's like another world that's like this world, but specialer.
Yeah, it's like, it's the world you know, right? And then there's like the spirit world, but not like the spirit world where you think, but it's a spirit world that's like this world, but it's the spirit world.
And then it goes, okay, now that we've talked about that, let me tell you all about Lord Entropy. And then it goes, well, let me tell you all about Ananda. Ananda I find very interesting.
I was so gonna... she was gonna be my target for this episode.
Ananda's hilarious. So so I found it really curious because... For a couple of reasons, but notice they don't really talk about setting. They talk a lot about people and not a whole lot about setting and not a whole lot about really any sort of exigent factors except for just the one, and we'll get into them in a second, because there's literally only one exigent factor, more or less. And you know what it just reminded me of? Do tell. Fanfic. It's just like a Mary Sue, because it doesn't, like, so you ask, so it's like someone trying to tell you about the game they're in, but they only describe it in terms of their character.
Okay.
And Lord Entropy is that character, as is Ananda. And, like, there's a council of 4 people that govern the earth, and it's like fucking Harry Potter. You only learn about 2 of the motherfuckers. What? Ravenclaw? What? You know, it just like...
Language. I'm trying to keep this safe for work.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you only learn about Slytherin and Gryffindor. Yeah. Like, you don't learn a damn thing about the Ravenclaw or the Hufflepuff gods of Nobilis. You only learn about Lord Entropy and Ananda. So,
well, they gotta sell them expansion books. Huh?
What expansion books? So, let's dial it back real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Earth lives on the world Ash, Yggdrasil. By the way, Nobilis is very fond of giving a million different names for things.
You know, yeah. I mean, it was...
Which is
actually, Nobilis is also another word for thesaurus, which is also another word for buy one and pick a word.
And also another word for a type of fir tree. Also, Nobilis is one of like 4 different terms for the same thing: nobilis, nobles, small gods, powers, etc., etc.
Hey, they were nice enough to include the pluralization of every single title.
Yes, they were, although I wouldn't call it nice. So, we've established that Earth exists somewhere on the branches of Yggdrasil. Okay, now, what's important about this? First of all, in Nobilis, heaven is totally a thing. So is hell. The biblical God creator and the angels and devils, like that is an accepted and real and extant part of the cosmology. This is important. However, there are several other cosmologies that are just kind of stapled on. So in addition to so there are, underneath the creator God, there are all these other god-like things. And they are, in no particular order, the angels, the demons, the light, the dark, the wild, the true gods, which somehow are equal in power to demons and angels, but not this god. It's these gods are true gods. And there's also something called Aaron's serpents.
Yeah.
Which are described as, my understanding is they're kind of like the Ratatosk. They are the servants of the world tree. They're like the squirrels that run up and down Yggdrasil's branches, or maybe they're like the Nidhogg, or maybe they're like Jormungand.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron's serpents, they are the Jormungand because they are also called Leviathans. They are primordial things that are of power that cannot be destroyed. Anyway, so all of these totally sweet gods exist. So you get to play one of those, right? Wrong.
Well,
you
let me
do
stop
not.
you right there.
Okay.
Because
please do.
Yeah, because in this particular part of the book, and again, we did this for you. Okay? We did this for you. Okay, we treat this like a job because this is a great coffee table book, but it doesn't go on the top of the coffee table.
Let's be honest, it is a pretty coffee table book.
No, it is a book to keep a coffee table level so far. that's what it's there for.
Wow, I thought I had the worst. I thought I had the worst things to say. Man, you're coming out swinging today. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My problem number one.
Okay.
I don't mind mixing pantheons. Okay. I
Fair.
really don't. I don't. What is important is understanding that Christianity is a monotheism that makes it very clear that if you follow my way, nothing else matters, nothing else gives power. If you even entertain that idea, you're going to hell. Mm-hmm. That is one of the things that it's there. And the polytheistic religions are really kind of easy to deal with. But this book, this fluff, okay, is you're on Yggdrasil, but there is God. But isn't Yggdrasil actually guarded by Odin? Shut up! You're on Yggdrasil, and there is Yahweh who has Hasatan, and there is hell. But then we've got the squirrels that run up and down the world tree, and oh yeah, and Hela's there, and Lord Entropy is awesome, and although we're talking about English and Christianity, and we're talking about Norwegian mythology, we've got the Latin names for everything too. It's like, come on, fucking pick something.
Yeah. So and Hufflepuff, they're like, we're pretty sure Hufflepuff is a this.
Yeah.
No one knows what the hell Lord Entropy is. He's so mysterious you can't even understand him. And don't forget his hands that constantly bleed blood. But he's also the super good guy. Like, he's so edgy. And then Ananda's totally a thing too, but we don't know what Ananda is either. We only know that Hufflepuff is most definitely a true god.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So it's very indecisive. So the question that comes from all this, and this is thrown at you as an absolute word salad, you know, and they're very helpful in the sense that at the end of every, or the beginning of every section, they say also known as this, also known as this, also known as this, but it's all described in sort of vague metaphorical terms, and the question on your head is why would anyone throw all of these disparate, nonsensical, godlike beings together? Well, they understand the basics of a story, at least, because there is an exigent, existential threat to all of them. And those are the antagonists of Nobilis, called the Excrucians.
Yes. Now, again, the Excrucians.
Yes, I know.
Excrucians.
I know.
Oh, they may as well have been called the Badassians.
Or that movie we saw with the Cuban, The Despiser. Like, they are the despisers. What do? They hate everything. And that kind of sums up the Excrucians. So the thing you have to understand about the Excrucians is when I say exigent...
They're aptly named for the readers of this book.
Yeah, more or less. So they are exigent in the sense of they do not come from this reality. Mind you, this reality is the world tree. It encompasses everything. It encompasses all realities.
Except
they would have
heaven and hell, because it doesn't.
No. It does that too. So they talk about the perfection of heaven, except the problem is that when heaven was created, God was like, all right, that's my best work, I'm done. And they're like, no, anything that stagnates cannot be perfect. So the angels busy themselves quite literally with moving the freaking furniture of heaven around to make it constantly perfect. And then there was one guy who was like, no, I think it's pretty cool as it is. And they're like, you are cast down, Lucifer. How dare you say that armoire was perfect where it was?
Yeah.
So he and his dudes were like, no, everything was fine. And their whole thing was, in the process of keeping heaven constantly perfect by changing it constantly, the Creator created humans, and that's why Lucifer threw a tiff. And so they're down in hell, except like 10 of them are allowed on Earth at any given time, literally by contract with heaven. They're like, no, 10 of you can be on Earth as long as you're helping us fight the Excrucians. That is how bad they want you to understand the Excrucians are, because the Excrucians do not come from this reality or any of the realities parallel to it. They come from somewhere outside, and they are trapped here.
Yeah, I believe Marvel called them the Beyonders back in like the 80s.
So does Nobilis, actually. They are also called the Beyonders, one of their many names. Nobilis is very fond of names. So the Excrucians exist outside this reality, but they are trapped in this reality, and they want out. And they feel that the only way to get out is to destroy everything.
Yeah.
No, you're supposed to say everything with a question mark?
Oh, sorry. Wait. Everything?
Everything.
But if they destroy everything, doesn't that include themselves too?
Maybe. That's just how edgy they are. So hang
on, let me help you get a bit of a soundtrack with these extra. I was gonna save this for Lord Entropy, but yeah, there we go. Okay.
Oh my god.
Please continue.
So, the Excrucians want to destroy everything that is. By unmaking it, they will break open the shell that contains them, and they will be able to continue on their exocosmic cruise, their day trip, whatever it was that got them stuck here. Maybe a line at Starbucks. Who the hell knows? Their motives, they're evil, they're inscrutable, they are everything, and they are nothing. All at once, they are the Beyonders. I
was a goth in high school for like a little bit, because I wasn't in high school for that long. But
right.
I did spend a little bit of it as a goth, and truth be told, like, I don't like the word pretentious. I really don't. I think it's an overused word.
It is overused in the same way that horror and fiction podcasts overuse the word theory.
Okay.
In fact, everyone on the internet overuses the word theory, and no one seems to know what the word hypothesis means. But in that exact sense, there is a better word, like hypothesis, for what you mean when you say theory, i.e. pretentious. Not in this case. Not in this case.
You see, I get that it's pretentious in the sense that it's pretending to be deep, but I got such an
Dude, what about the parable of the woman with the wall and the dog?
okay, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
dude, that was so deep.
yeah.
Check
yeah.
it.
I get that. And
Did you have an answer to the 7 riddles that govern all? No. Okay.
see, here's where I sit with that. I can understand that it was trying to be awesome. The thing was, it's a lot like when you have a lot of friends that try and well, they think they study witchcraft
Right.
because they read a 200-page book and a comic with someone who dressed like them.
Okay.
And I can't call that pretentious as much as I call it misguided.
Yes.
You know.
Fair. That is a fair assessment.
Yeah, and that's what I got from this fluff. It wasn't, oh yes, and there are gods, and we shall talk flowers because flora is amazing and powerful. I didn't get that. What I got was a really stoned, depressed high school student, like Trent Reznor or Eddie Vedder, at 16, decided to try and write a role-playing book, and it didn't quite work.
So let me try to put this into a little bit of context,
Yeah.
because something started clicking in my head as I started looking into this. Nobilis was published in 1999,
Yes.
which is a really interesting time in gaming. Do you know why?
Yeah, it was essentially the rise and the height of grimdark for grimdark's sake. I mean, 99 was, I believe, the year that we got Wraith.
90.
And-
I think Wraith actually came out a little bit, maybe then or a little bit before. But
Oh, no,
here's
yeah.
another really important thing. 1999 was pre 3rd edition D&D.
Yes.
So the cocks of the walk, so to speak, was White Wolf
True.
at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and Cyberpunk was still like a very like vibrant blip on the radar, as was Call of Cthulhu. There's a lot of deeper and darker storytelling, and it's just before the cusp of Crunchy Games Forever, like just before that. So, and a lot of games, I think, were making their mark based on their systems at that time.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember that time.
Without falling back to the old D20 days of THACO and saving throws and all that
Right.
stuff. So it's
'Cause
kind of
what's-
interesting. Like, I think Nobilis could only really have happened at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Someone becoming so just fed up with the governance of rules that I'm going to make a game where basically there are no rules, and it's all about pure storytelling.
You know what? I can totally understand where you see that, because thinking back to 99, we had
It was a weird time.
it was a very weird time. It was we had the 2nd edition D&D guys that was guarded by the neckbeards of
And it had
the
been out
anti,
for freaking 10, 12 years at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
so
that's all we had.
no, it wasn't all we had.
No, I mean,
it
but
was-
for mainstream fantasy gaming, and 10 to 12 years is a really long time for an IP at this point.
yeah, it's true. And most of it was guarded though by the old guard, the neckbeards that were anti-new players and anti-deodorant, and
honestly, anti creative storytelling.
truth.
That was
truth.
in my, I don't know about your high school. In my high school, there was like a strict divide between the D&D crowd and the White Wolf crowd. Like,
Well, actually, believe it or not, my second high school, there wasn't really much of a thing because it was all. There were only 300 of us in the first place.
okay,
It's me and Bear and all those guys.
for sure.
But in my other high school, there were no role-playing things because of Satanic Panic.
Mhm.
But when I learned about the whole role-playing culture and stuff, yeah, Old Guard, D20, then there were the, more attractive kids playing White Wolf, and then there were the Rift guys, and because the Palladium crew was always strong, always there, and then there were the miniature war gamers,
Mhm.
and they were fighting between BattleTech and Warhammer, But a game like Nobilis coming out saying, you know what, no dice. We want the acting skills, because it's not just all about the killing. And, well, if I play a god and I have this ability, I should be able to do it, so why is there a chance for me to fail? I get
Well,
it.
I get it too, but here's where I came to really sort of despise what was passing in front of my eyes. So the thing I hinted that there was a good thing about this game, and I will tell you what that is.
Other than its table leveling prowess, yeah.
Yes, other than its ability to make a table even. They do have a lot of very good suggestions on how to write a compelling story.
I must have missed that part of the book.
It's actually, because there's like 7 sections. It's the most of the middle. It's the entire section of what does a hollyhock god do. By the way, for our deckers out there, Nobilis uses the term hollyhock god instead of game master,
which means you have 8 dads and they're all gay.
Yeah. So, Nobilis is all about a story. All about a story. Because there's not a lot of rules to get in the way. There's very few rules. You have 4 stats. There's a system by which if you somehow manage to fell it an excrucian or one of the things that it is invested with their powers, you can steal a portion of its power. Or if you duel another Nobilis, you can also take a portion of their power. It's this fun little game they play for shits and gigs when they're bored. But there's not a lot besides that. So I like that they have good suggestions for how to write a story. However, in that they have good suggestions for how to write a story, it is because they are heaping the lion's share of the work on the back of a beleaguered game master. Sorry, hollyhock god. So I'm writing a book. I've been writing a book for a while. Let me tell you something about writing stuff. Writing a work is like making a Zen rock garden, or really any sort of creative thing. But let's take Zen rock garden. Zen rock garden is a good example, and you'll find out why shortly.
All right.
You can lovingly curate every little sweep of your rake, the placement of every stone, all the decor, and you have this perfectly just you can just reach a sort of satori, just an existential like awakening of the perfection and the sublimeness of it. And then you can
angels come around and make it more perfect by changing things?
No, even better. You take it and it's confined in its little miniature world. Let's say a 2-foot by 3-foot box, and you put it on a floor of a house full of cats. And they shit in it. They just drop massive deuces all over your perfectly curated little garden. And that is what Nobilis is like, because you have to create a perfect Zen garden and then empower a bunch of murder hobos with godlike...
Go on.
Oh, are we still recording?
We're recording again.
Oh, okay. Oh, where did we leave off?
Not quite sure. Okay, yeah, it kind of stopped right, and we got Nomi back there in the chat.
Where did we stop?
In the middle of your Zen murder hobo.
Oh, okay.
No, the murder hobos got through. So
the murder hobos got through?
Yeah, so we're talking Zen Garden plus murder hobos. Have to empower a bunch of murder hobos. Thank you, chat.
Okay, have to empower a bunch of murder hobos. So you're inviting these people into your perfect little Zen garden to just crap all over it. And that's a hard thing to do, because it is hard. It's hard enough to anticipate the actions and thoughts and motivations of characters that you know intimately, their limitations, you know, what they can do, what their goals are. But you're inviting 3 to 7 strangers into your perfect little dream world that have almost unregulated amounts of power. The rules are a barrier between their demonic aspirations and the sanctity of the story you are trying to tell. And you are telling me this game removes that barrier and delivers it squarely into the laps of your players. And that's a hard sell for me. And what I was saying is I want to play with, and I want to maybe even fall in love with the people who this game was designed for, because they are respectful, kind, understanding, creative, motivated players. And I don't know any of those damn people.
Wait, I take a little bit of offense to that.
You know what? You have your moments. But you literally, like, these are people who would tread feather light on the eggshells you have laid on the floor. You know, it's like that line from Equilibrium, like, tread carefully or you tread on my dreams. And I'd like to meet the group of people this game was designed for. The hipster commune up somewhere in the Pacific Northwest that's all about each other's feelings and emotions, and like not really too concerned with the rules, and just sort of a kind of a free flow narrative kind of storytelling experience. It's not a game session, it's an experience. I don't know those people, so I have trust issues of a game that tells me, you know, if you build it, I promise you they will not crap all over it.
Man, you were killing me. You were killing me.
But you know hashtag what? Sorry, not sorry.
Oh God, no. By the way, a sign's going up. That's not a phrase that's going to be allowed in this studio, like ever.
What?
Huh? SNS. I can't take it. I just on a scale of 1 to even, I can't. It's just yeah. But yeah, you're definitely killing me with that. See, how can I didn't get as emotionally invested.
It's just as a writer, I find it anathema. What they're trying to sell me, like to a player, this is Candyland, dude. Just what? All the powers? Gosh.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. What the part that killed me, okay? Partly as a writer, partly as a performer, okay? What I just could not deal with was the lack of limitations in the story, or the attempt to look like there are no limitations in the story. A lot of people get on me because of my comic book thing, and I once again, I'm not just a fan of DC Comics. I like DC Terrestrial. I don't like Marvel Terrestrial. I'm all about Marvel Cosmic, but not really about DC Cosmic, and I tend to follow writers more than I follow anything.
That's fair.
That being said, Nobilis, in their storytelling, is so descript about so many of the wrong things. I find myself...
It's so right. They're so right. They talk about all the wrong things.
You know, I find that my problem with the fluff in this game is the exact same problem that I have with a lot of Marvel Cosmic, which is really wide phrasing. Okay? Example. Why is Thanos so powerful?
Because he has the Infinity Gauntlet.
What can the Infinity Gauntlet do?
The Infinity Gauntlet governs 6 underlying aspects of reality through the gems, the Infinity Gems.
You're using way too many words. One word sums up what the Infinity Gauntlet does.
Yes, if you want to be base about it, the Infinity Gauntlet can do anything.
Oh, anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Almost anything.
Yeah, anything. In that reality.
Yes.
And the Cosmic Cube can do what?
I can do pretty much anything, too.
And the Ultimate Nullifier?
That can stop anything from happening.
Okay, now in Nobilis, what do your powers give you the ability to do?
Pretty much anything.
Yeah,
regarding your estate.
But when you have the thing regarding the estate, what limitations outside of your estate do you have?
Oh, none. Oh, outside of your estate?
Yes.
Very few. You can pretty much do anything else.
You see my problem? Yeah, it's always anything.
So to be clear, very quickly, one of the 7 different powers I described earlier, and that's again angels, demons, light, dark, wild ones, true gods, and errant serpents. They are fighting against the Excrucians. And the Excrucians are trying to destroy reality. So, what the Nobilis do is they secret away an aspect, a sort of a piece of that puzzle of that aspect of reality. And these powers each govern some part of reality. They're their own infinity stone. So what they go is they find some jerk face on Earth and go, hey, asshole, I've just burned out a part of your soul and replaced it with myself.
Yeah.
You are now a signed, sealed, card-carrying defender of this aspect of reality. Oh, sweet. What aspect of reality am I defending? Candy. Wait, what? Yes.
Yeah.
You are the nobilis of candy, dude. It is super important. Reality itself could be undone if they destroy all the candy.
Now, are we talking hard candy or just various confections? Like,
it's another problem I have with Nobilis is they don't define how granular a power or a state, as they call it, or what we would call a portfolio, can be. So I don't know if there is actually a difference between hard candies, if there's a Nobilis of hard candy, Nobilis of soft candy, or if there's a Nobilis of the Mars Corporation, or just a Nobilis of freaking Necco wafers. It could just be a Nobilis of candy, or maybe there's a bunch of like crappier, lesser Nobilis like, oh man, I got Almond Joy, you know?
well,
or I got Mounds.
See, I don't mind that as much as you do, because again, my favorite role-playing game is Mage the Ascension.
Right.
So
but
those kind of limitations is kind of like, you know what? I'm going to be real vague about what candy you have control over, but that way, if you have an open world to play with what you can do, I have an open world with which to thwart you.
I'm
fine with that.
I'm all about the Pandora's box theory of gaming. I live it. My players know me could practically quote the damn thing since I've told her that rule a million times. I don't mind the Pandora's box rule. What I don't like is the lack of granularity, because basically the problem with games like this, or the problem that I have with games like this, is that it assumes an equal level of creativity and imagination and cleverness on the part of all the players, and that's the problem, is that when you have one smartass in a group of people that are not quite as much of a smartass, that person, by virtue of nothing, has pretty much all the power. So like if you can be super vague in defining what you're the nobilis of, as opposed to someone who's like, I don't know, stuffed animals, whatever, it's just whatever, and someone's like, you know, like, I'm the nobilis of the feeling of existential dread. And then begin to apply that to literally, like, or I'm the nobilis of angst. You know, a paralyzing feeling of existential dread coming about from the realization of one's own freedom. But how does that not apply to everything? You know?
Could you say that one more time?
I'm the nobilis of angst. A feeling of existential dread that comes about by the realization of one's own freedom. And that applies to everything.
Yeah.
How dare you?
What do you mean?
No, it was good. It was a good one.
Yeah. So,
I approve it.
Yeah. No. Quite honestly, I get you. I get you.
Yeah. So they don't, you know, and because again, there's no real like, the rules are so vague that there's no way to really define, like, if you're one of your stats is lower, are you then of necessity a nobilis of a lesser and kind of more obscure concept? And again, this isn't just nouns, this isn't just feelings, it's any abstracting. The third edition, which is the worst written of the three by far, describes that there could, and very well it likely is, a nobilis of backsies. What we in California would more commonly call takey-backies, which is when someone does something and then wants to undo it, that is takey-backies. And so you want to support takey-backies, but you live in constant fear that the nobilis, that the power that gave you the powers of the nobilis of takey-backies would one day come to takey it backy, and then you can say to them, no takey-backies. Like, this is, I'm practically quoting it.
Quoting the book, guys.
Look,
like, seriously.
Look for Puffin Forrest's video on Nobilis. That is no kidding, a line from the book.
Yes, it was
So
the power of backseas.
yeah, so I'm just so I was just so confused by the lack of specificity in like how granular you have to be in terms of your nobilis power, or can you just be like, you know, I'm the nobilis of metal, but like I just mean like basically all kinds of metal, so not just the crystalline substance that we make most of. What's up with the stream today? What's up with the stream today?
It might be the heat.
I would not disbelieve that.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm getting the. Okay. But yeah. Yeah. So what we were talking about there, people. Yeah. So the Viking just had the kind of epiphany as to what kind of game Nobilis is. Could you say that again?
Nobilis is like a fanfic writer who is also a gamer telling their game master the kind of game they should run for them. Here's the kind of game here's like the best game, and it's not like it's not objective. It's like, here's what I think's the best game. This is what I would enjoy the most. Is that if you didn't have all these rules getting in my way, wouldn't it be cool if that was a game?
Yeah, and that's what it sounds like you're saying. It sounds like you're saying Nobilis is a game of wouldn't it be cool if.
It is, except someone went so far as to publish the dang thing.
Now, it's actually funny, because you know what it actually reminds me of? It literally reminds me. I think of our good friend Micah.
Okay.
And this game reminds me of child's first RPG.
Okay.
What kind of character do you want to play, Tommy? I want to play a character that plays with kittens. Ooh, you want to like kittens? I want to like kittens a lot. Cool. I'm gonna let you like kittens. But I gotta like puppies too. Oh, okay. We can do puppies. Puppies is good. Yeah. So you want to be like the god of kittens and puppies. Yeah. But I'm gonna make kittens and puppies in the same body, and you can't take that back. You can't take back what I do. You know that's what I'm hearing. That's really what I'm hearing. It's again, if you're 5. And your dad or mom says, hey, you want to play pretend? And the kid goes, would I? I would love to play pretend. I want to play this with flowers. You know? And, but then your oldest kid gets home. And you try and force them to play with you and the kid. And it's like, hey, John, I'm the god of cats and dogs, and I can put them together, and you can't take them back. Cool, I guess. Whatever. I guess I'll be the god of like
lasers and explosions.
Yeah, and I want my hands to like drip blood, and if I talk to somebody, then they'll be like a dictator of a third world country, like Iraq or something. Whatever. I don't care. You know. I mean, that. Am I wrong?
The third edition was like that. The question I'm forced to ask is that comparatively the second edition was written so well. So how did it devolve to the third edition? I think I read something about the original writer getting back the rights, and then because someone came out with another version of it 10 years later, and that's where we get those really awful intros and the terrible interior art. This was made with love. The second edition we're talking about was made with love. Yeah. The other one was made with copious help from artists on DeviantArt, and I think not just writing. Not just digital art. I think writing too. Like it's, whew, oh my God, it's hard. It's hard to get through it, and there's just so much. Okay, we got to talk about the flowers since you mentioned it.
I was about to change the segment to that because we only got about 10 minutes left.
Oh, okay? Let's get into flowers real quick.
What I want to open up with the flower thing because this is what I look at as a way to do it incorrectly. Okay, because in Nobilis, flower take the Victorian meaning of flowers.
It's the language of specifically the Victorian language of flowers.
Yes. Now
is an important concept in Nobilis.
Now apply that language to the idea of the demigods that would be thought up by said 5-year-old with cat dog. Okay, this is important because if you, like myself, never worked in a flower shop, then you might not be able to really wrap your head around this quickly.
True. And they get into the concept of miracles. As a nobilis, any of the powers, they can perform miracles. But all the miracles require flowers, because the flower is an important metaphor. The flower was one of the first things created in heaven, and thus it was reflected on earth. So they ascribe some deeper meaning to it. So to do any rite or ritual or miracle requires a flower. Strangely,
wait, I just had an epiphany on that.
What's that?
Flowers are created in heaven, right?
Yeah.
Heaven's supposed to be paradise.
Right.
The GDP of Hawaii are flowers. Hawaii is paradise. Does that mean Nobilis is an entire role-playing book about going to Hawaii?
Yes, Nobilis is a game where you play a god or demigod doing all kinds of crazy crap in Hawaii. You've heard it here first.
Truthfully speaking, what we just came up with is still a lot better than the way that this is written.
Yeah, because not only... So in order to do your miracles, you need to use flowers, but also the Excrucians, when they try to unmake reality, they also use flowers as part of the unmaking rite. Now, this is all well and good. Fine, if you want flowers to be a really important thematic element, and they make it clear, actual flowers are not really all that important, just the meanings of the flowers as they are reflections of their true form in heaven. So, here's the thing that just drives me. This is the thing that was the final nail in this coffin for me. They make a huge deal about flowers. You cannot get through a chapter of this book without hearing about flowers a million damn times.
Well, keep in mind the GM is called the
Hollyhock God, and and this is chrysanthemums, and this is roses, and this is primrose, and this is whatever.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So at the end of the book, they start going into the language of flowers and the meanings and metaphors for each of the individual flowers. They have this huge list of covering a bunch of flowers, but they ended at A. And then they have a short list of flowers that begin with other letters and are like, when games do this drives me up the wall. They're like, this is the intrinsic rule governing the world of our game, whether it's the dice mechanic, whether it's a fluff mechanic, and we're giving you the Cliff's Notes version. For anything, or as Fourth Ed's saying it, anything not described in these rules is considered role-playing. Good luck with that.
Damn. Oh, man. It warms my heart to see you this full of hate for something.
I need to have a crappy week to get this just acerbic and hateful. But this game, it is as someone who has run games for 26 years, it is a slap in the damn face to say not only are the rules not important and your knowledge of them irrelevant, but it's all about writing a story and then inviting strangers into it and just seeing what happens. It's a game about consequence, but the first consequence is, hey guys, want to play a game? Victim 1.
Now, when I say that this is a game that shows the wrong way to do it, as you know, I am one of those really immature middle-aged men who love watching kids' cartoons. So,
I am as well.
Yeah. So when I saw the flower mechanic, the first thing that hit my head was Steven Universe.
Okay.
Because Steven Universe is also very much tied around geology.
Right.
All these rocks, these garnets, amethysts, pearls, rose quartz, freaking peridot. Who knew what a peridot was before Steven Universe Season 3? Other than geologists and jewelers, And I'm like, okay, cool. There was already a game back in the late 90s that kind of did that. Let me see how they did it. If I could have found that clip from Superman Returns with Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor yelling at Lois Lane when she's like, Superman's going to stop. You're wrong! I would have played that clip just now. Because it's like, yeah, the flowers things and all that stuff, that is great. Let me see how that... Wrong! Wrong! Because, to answer Nicholas Hurst's question, yes, you could be the noblest of, I don't know, piracy, but you can't use tulips to make pirates be pirates. But you can use tulips to describe yourself in regards to piracy, and they play no purpose. There is no reason to talk about the flowers.
It is pure
as another layer
of pretense.
Code. Yeah, it's another layer of code separating the storyteller and those who are part of the story from understanding what the hell is going on. And that's a problem that I have with it. Like I said, I don't think it's pretentious. Actually, no, that part is pretentious as hell. That is more pretentious than me in the freaking 90s, dressed as a member of the revolution, but all black instead of purple, and freaking ordering ginger ale in a damn champagne glass. It was pretentious as all hell then. It's pretentious now. It's very simple. If you are going to use flowery language, make it relevant. Make it relevant to the narrative.
And make it thorough.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
Thorough and relevant. I can complain and bitch and moan so much you guys can start calling me Bam Bam. Just bitch and moan, bitch and moan, bitch and moan about Gurr Martin. Okay? I don't care about 9 pages of heraldry or food recipes. I just want to get to the dragons and the politics. But you know what? This book, this game, Nobilis, actually makes me thankful for 9 pages of wine-soaked figs and locusts that were boiled in honey and then deep-fried to make them crisp so that they're snack food for the fighters in the fighting pits of Marine, okay? Because seriously, at least that played a purpose, Granted, a lot of words, and I grew up reading J.R. Tolkien, H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen freaking King, ooh, Pepsi can, scary Pepsi can. But this book adds all of those words and doesn't give them any purpose. You learn this entire language about flowers. At least you try and learn this entire language about flowers. But if you cut that language from the flowers, it does not affect your role-playing experience in this game at all.
It's just another lattice of metaphor to drape over anything making sense, or really the players sort of realizing that they can just kind of curb stomp your game. And I think about 2002 Viking. 2 years
2000, like what you were
myself in 2002.
Okay, because when you said 2002 Viking, that was the year of Techno Viking.
No. 2002, myself in 2002. 2 years into 3rd edition. Running a game for my post-high school friends, and I'm struggling to think precisely of what I would have thought had I stumbled across this game in your friendly local game store. But I think my reaction would have been something like, okay, so there's a lot of complicated jargon and nonsense, but ultimately the players play gods, and they romp around in the world. They have to obey their creator, but other than that, there's really no kind of consequence. And it's like, I'm talking about young 20-somethings. What's to stop them from just saying, "Oh, I don't give a crap about consequence," because in your early 20s, your life's all about consequence and the avoidance thereof. Like, this is a game, I think, written by people in their 30s, for people in their 30s, and now that I'm in my 30s, I still don't know if this is the kind of game I could get into, because you know what? 20 is a new 30, man. Or 30 is a new 20, man, and we're still trying to escape from ever-burdening, consequence. So, like, it requires either a depth of storytelling there's frankly too much work for people that have jobs.
Okay.
And it is too fragile a lattice work of rules and governance to stop people who aren't like super into what you're doing to just stomp all over it. And like, I don't have, I have the courage to submit my written works in an online format for the scrutiny of the masses. I'm fine with that. But I don't want to invite people into a world that I've lovingly curated with just sort of the vague hope that they aren't going to thoughtlessly wreck it. It's a hard thing to grasp, a hard thing to do. I don't think I would go for it in 2002. I certainly wouldn't go for it today.
See, where I have a problem with this fluff, in regards to consequence, okay?
Because they make a big deal that consequence is an important part of this game.
Yeah, but they never illustrate what any are.
No, to be clear, they say that consequence is an important part of this game.
As I said, and they never illustrate what any are.
Well,
There's no part of the fluff that goes, when this happened, this sort of thing happened.
No, it's all kind of on the back of the Game Master. They give examples of writing a story and how you should adjudicate consequence and stuff, and that's fine, but that... this is an idealist's game. The person who wrote this was an idealist in the truest sense of they had an enormous faith in people to not just ruin it.
Yeah, again, I'm right there with you. I'm not arguing. But what I'm saying is, from my perspective where I sit, the problem that I have with this fluff is, okay, you're gods. Okay, you have a responsibility. Okay, there are some murder mounds trying to get past or tear down what you're trying to build. However, there isn't any go for it. There isn't any illustrations in the book. There's no examples in the story of what happens if the bad guys win.
Mm-hmm.
In Mage's the Ascension, which was, let's face it, the role-playing game where your powers and abilities were based on your capability as a player to BS.
Yes, okay, absolutely.
That was all there.
Unquestionably.
However, though Paradox, Realms, Spirits, and Marauders were dumb, at least they were flushed out.
For sure.
And what Nobilis didn't give me in the narrative was any sort of examples. It really was Mr. Garrison saying, well, if you mess up your part of reality, it'll be bad, okay? That's all. It'll just be bad. Well, okay, explain to me what bad is. What are the parameters of bad? Well, it's just bad, okay? Let's not talk about how bad is, but it's bad, okay?
Shows me it's bad. So, have you ever played the card game Super Fight?
No.
Me and Nomi played it last Wednesday.
Okay.
It's basically... TLDR, it's Cards Against Humanity with superheroes. So
pass.
Hold on.
Hard pass.
Oh no, I get it. Here's the thing about it, and here's why I'm bringing it up. So you get a superhero, you get a choice of 3 superheroes, or rather a thing that makes the superhero, and you get a choice of 3 powers. So you match 2 up, and you say, all right, here's my hero. I'm fighting your dude. Another player has his hero, and then you sort of talk it out. Mm-hmm. Of like, well, I don't really see how you could beat this. Oh, okay, well, I don't see how you could beat this. And then if there's a third player or other players, if you two can't talk it out, they're the adjudicators. So what Nobilis really is, it's a 3-player game of Super Fight, except the Hollyhock God is both the opposing player and the tiebreaker.
Okay.
So that's
unfair and kind of because I said so.
Yes, it's non-stop rule zeros. I'm the game master and I said so.
Yeah.
And I like structure. I'm an awful fond of structure. And the thing is, structure keeps players honest and game masters from becoming tyrants.
Okay.
And there is nothing in Nobilis that stops either of these things from happening.
Yeah, fair enough. So I'm guessing that your rating for the fluff on this game is a solid fold. Am I incorrect?
Fluff, 100% fold. This game has some good ideas, but they are not even remotely... The Game Master section of this book is worth salvaging from the fires that come at the end of times when the excrucians win.
Jeez.
but not the fluff. The fluff doesn't tell you anything about these super awesome and edgy fanfic Mary Sue characters.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
fold, unquestionably.
Believe it or not, I'm almost there with you. Almost there. This fluff was not anything I could possibly. Well, one, I would never play this game. Okay, I'm just gonna say that right off the bat.
Would you run the game?
Oh God, no! I would never run this game. In fact, I was looking for something because you know how I'm always looking for a good thing. I'm always trying to find something nice.
I looked hard.
Um,
I looked really hard. I spent 5 hours yesterday pouring through this book, looking hard.
Oh yeah, you were texting me a lot, going, Jesus, really, really. But one of the things I will say is, I wouldn't take this setting and apply it to any other system. And I know a lot of systems between Anomaly and Fate and D20 and White Wolf and New White Wolf and GURPS and freaking Rifts, that I wouldn't take this and put it on anything. Nobilis is Nobilis, for no name suits its nature but its own. With that being said, I wouldn't play it, I wouldn't run it, and most importantly, I wouldn't go out of my way to read any fiction that was written about this world outside of the game. But with all that, I would say
I would be a fly on the wall with the group that this game was intended to be run for.
yeah, I wouldn't. But with that said, I gotta give the fluff on this game an aces high, just a high card. Primarily because how can I put it? This fluff deserves to be read in the same way that that Birdemic deserves to be watched. I mean, seriously, because when I'm reading the fluff
As a visual train wreck?
huh?
As a visual train wreck?
As a visual train wreck, much like Manos, a lesson in how not to do it.
Uh-huh.
And truth be told, if you want to take it seriously, you're going to end up...
Of love, passion, and idealism. But unfortunately, those three things have a really hard time surviving the modern player.
Exactly.
The modern young player.
Yeah.
It's a tough sell for a game master, and it is a tougher sell for today's gamer, and that is kind of a sad thing. But I think Nobilis is heaven in the sense that it's the thing that everyone should aspire to, but no one will actually get there. It's all about the road, not the destination.
I totally understand where you're going with that. Well, though the camera's out and I've had to replace you with the title card, thank you very much for showing up today, man. It's been a week.
It has indeed.
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a week.
So where can they get a hold of you if people want to reach out to you, say what's up, and all that stuff?
I am courting not internet anonymity on the Instagrams. You can find me at D20_chef.
D20_chef.
Yes, where I post things about cats and food and games and pretty much nothing else.
Wow, you're just trying to get all the viewers, aren't you?
Yeah, I gotta maximize my, I gotta diversify myself.
Well, fair enough. And of course, they can find you on Deckers on the Book as well.
Yes, they can.
All right. So yeah, thank you for showing up. Chat, you guys, thank you very much for for being here and putting up with the on and off. I'm hoping to get an air conditioner sometime this weekend. We'll see how that goes, if there are any left on the market. But with that, what I do want to say is thank you guys for showing up for another episode. Hopefully tomorrow for Hobby Hall, we'll be on location at a different store. But with all of that, I'm going to say, if you guys like what you heard or, want to talk to us about anything, then feel free to give us a call, or should I say, give us a look at backinthedeck@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube, as you know, because you're watching us right now. And next time, hey, bring a friend, bring 2 friends, bring 3. Follow us on Back in the Deck at Twitter. Right now I'm saying a whole lot because I feel like saying a whole lot. I'm burning up, and so are all of my tools. But follow us on Deckers on the Book. That is our Facebook group, Deckers on the Book, as in on the Facebook. Follow our archives and stuff at SoundCloud/bidp or bid_p. That's BID_p. Follow our Instagram at Back in the Deck, and that's where you get like the daily announcements and all that jazz. Also, we now have a Twitch channel where we are going to be showing a lot of different things there. We're going to be doing our live cast game. We also will have weekly updates on Twitch about the games that we're running. Ow! What? Look at that. Oh, yeah. About the games that we're running, the live games that we're going through, and we are going to be pushing all of these things specifically for the people. Yeah, there we go. Specifically for the people that haven't actually done any role playing before.
It may take.
For any role-playing before, or if you haven't run a game, you get to watch us step-by-step do it. Last week was our game our game 0 for Inomine, and we're going to be giving you a little bit more like that. Next up, well, actually no, that was the whole thing, wasn't it? Yeah, that was. The Twitch announcement was like the most recent thing. But please come and visit us at www.backinthedeck.com. You get to see our brick and mortar store recommendation for all the places that won't look at you differently if you are a woman, a person of color, or all the things that reach our demographics. But with all that, I'm going to say, if anybody tells you guys that you can't have the hobbies you have or like the things that you like because of your race, religion, creed, background, disability, or whether or not you were born poor, you can just tell those guys to take that card and put it back in the deck. I am Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, along with the Viking.
Thanks for joining us.
And we will see you guys next Friday on Fluff Talk, where I think we're going to get a little more fantasy-based. I'm not sure. Talk! And good night, everybody.